In the wake of Eric Schneiderman's resignation as Attorney General of New York, some of his longtime friends on the left are professing shock. You've heard them. We just can't believe it, they say. How could a man so publicly committed to feminism beat women? It just doesn't make sense. But of course, it makes perfect sense. Self-righteousness is always a marker for secret creepiness. The people yelling the loudest are usually hiding the most. Keep that in mind the next time you hear some Democratic politician lecturing you about your moral inferiority. That's the guy you need to watch carefully. Chances are he's up to something awful behind closed doors. Hypocrisy isn't just a feature of modern liberalism, it's the heart of modern liberalism. Ever wonder how people who advocate for abortion can say they stand for children? How a movement that demonizes an entire race can claim to oppose racism? The same way Al Gore can travel by private jet while trying to ban your SUV. Because consistency does not matter to the left. Only virtue matters. We're good people, therefore we must rule. You are not, therefore you must obey. Al Gore doesn't believe he's a hypocrite. Eric Schneiderman probably doesn't think he is either. You can't commit sin if your intentions are pure, and liberals believe their intentions are the purest. If that sounds like theology and not public policy, that's because it is theology. Modern liberalism is a religious movement. It's a replacement for the Protestant Christianity that the left works so hard to undermine and destroy. Liberals are speaking the language of faith, albeit a faith without God. This is the main reason that right and left talk past each other. The reason our public debates are so weird and unsatisfying. One side arrives with facts and stats and arguments. The other brags about its decency. One side is trying to convince, the other is trying to convert. You can beat a liberal in an argument, but you can never convince him that you won. He cares much more deeply than you do, and therefore he knows he's right, by definition, and nothing can convince him otherwise. Somewhere tonight, Eric Schneiderman is marinating in his shame, probably unshaven and alone. His career is over, his reputation is destroyed. He faces years of potential legal action. He is a broken man. He is in agony. And yet, on some level, despite all of that, Eric Schneiderman still knows he's a better person than you are. Seth Barron is associate editor of City Journal. He predicted in public on Twitter that Schneiderman would be exposed as a creep, and he said it last November. Yesterday he tweeted this: "How did I know this and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio didn't?" Great question. We've asked him to come on and explain. Seth Barron joins us tonight. Seth, how did you know that? That was a remarkably prescient tweet last November.
Thanks, Tucker. You know, to me, it was just kind of, I thought it was just an open secret. I'd heard stories and rumors about Schneiderman for years. I'd been told by at least 3 or 4 different people since maybe 2009 that he is into rough sex with women, that he likes to date his staffers and is a little pushy with them, that he tried to kidnap a reporter and wouldn't let her out of his car on the way to, and said he was taking her to his apartment. So I sort of assumed that this was just, you know, common knowledge, more or less. Now, I'm not deeply involved in Albany politics or in New York City Democratic circles. I'm an editor for a moderately conservative magazine.
So you're not exactly in the loop at the highest levels of progressive New York, is what you're saying.
No, exactly. So that's why it seemed strange that everyone was saying, oh my God, this is the craziest thing we've ever heard.
But it's clearly not. I mean, so that you raise a really, I think, central question, which is, if you heard about it, is it plausible that the governor of the state, one of his closest allies, presumably one of his closest friends, Andrew Cuomo, had never heard of it?
It seems implausible to me. I mean, it seems implausible to me that any elected official in New York State hadn't heard it. I don't know what I can say. I mean, Andrew Cuomo has been, you know, steeped in New York State politics for 40 years. He basically has a private army. He keeps tabs on everything and everyone. He's extraordinarily paranoid.
Yes, I know.
So I would imagine that he would know everything that everybody's up to at all times.
He's a thoroughly bizarre person. I've dealt with him. No, I agree. That's exactly the word that comes to mind, and I don't use it lightly. He's paranoid. He's a control person. There's no doubt. So this is a little strange, though, because Schneiderman was the Attorney General. He wasn't just some functionary. He wasn't the night city editor at the Daily News. I mean, he was the chief law enforcement officer of the state. So
right.
If there's a suggestion that he kidnapped somebody, you'd think that one of his peers would follow up on it.
Well, you might think so, but at the same time, the New York State Attorney General has unique powers and is an immensely powerful figure. I don't think any Attorney General any state Attorney General across the country has the kind of power that the New York Attorney General does. However, if you notice, over the last few years in New York State and New York City, there's been a lot of corruption investigations.
Yes.
But he has not been leading them. They've all been largely done by the feds. There's trials going on in Albany right now over, Sheldon Silver is going to be retried. Right. A number of Cuomo's associates, just where Joe Percoco was just convicted. This was federal. And in New York City, investigations of Bill de Blasio were largely being done by the federal government.
It's kind of funny. Meanwhile, this guy's suing everyone about global warming.
Global warming,
Right.
or coming up with ways to have pardon-proof indictments of Trump associates, or suing the vitamin industry. Yeah. Or,
Meanwhile, the cesspool around him goes unaddressed. Seth, thank you for that dispatch from New York. Not heartening, but fascinating. Thanks.
Thanks, Tucker.
We will make America great again.